I find, and I've found, that when there's a bliss, love, joy emotion in me, it's so overwhelming that I'll want to pull out. Remind yourself that you chose the path and that you made many micro decisions that led you to where you are now, so that you can make many micro decisions and have whatever life that you do want. Yeah, there's a shot clock in life, but we pretend like it's not there.
Dr. Mike, what's up?
It's great to be here.
Great to be here with you.
So what's happening in the fight game? MMA, UFC, what's happening right now?
I mean, Alex Pereira is happening. He's a beast.
There's a buzz right now.
Yeah, I would say him, he has this. Well, first he beat Israel Adesanya, right? Mm-hmm. But Izzy came back and beat him. So for a little while, Alex held the middleweight belt. Then he went up to light heavyweight. Now he's a light heavyweight champion. He's just running through the division. So I would say he's the biggest thing right now.
He is, and that's a big deal to change weight classes. That's a tricky thing to do, to operate in literally a different body.
Let's talk about that for just a hot second.
Are you trying to go up or down in weight?
Man, I want to go down.
You want to go down?
I want to be lighter. I want to be lighter. I want to be about 8 pounds lighter.
You want to lean down?
100%.
It's lean.
100%.
So you want to reconstitute your body.
I want to reconstitute my figure.
Do you?
Yes.
So is this for?
I'm so glad you asked me this.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Is it because you're too bulky and too handsome?
I don't even know why you said bulky. Why you say I'm not? I take offense to bulky.
No, you've got the muscular fit look.
I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate.
Is it functional? Is it cosmetic? What are we doing here?
If I'm being honest,
yeah,
because I think that we've built a relationship where I can be honest with you.
Yeah,
it's some of it is cosmetic.
Some of it is cosmetic. Yeah. Are you still doing bicep curls?
No. I'm not like that. Oh, but I mean, I look at myself. I'm like, man, I could be a little leaner. I could be a little more svelte.
I think the same thing.
Yeah,
I'm paying attention mostly to mobility.
Yeah.
And I know you've got a partner that's like, when I watch what she's doing, Kaisa is like it's ridiculous. Yeah.
Mobility nut job.
Mobility nut job.
But the scary thing about her is here's the thing. And maybe I'm hating on her a little bit. I'm a hater. Wait, I'm a well-known hater.
Is your partner?
Yeah, it's my partner, but
Mm-hmm.
But I hate on her.
You're not going to hold her up here.
I'm not going to hold you up. I'm going to just tell the truth. I look at her and I'm like, yeah, most of this is genetic. Not only are you freakishly mobile.
Was she a gymnast?
No, but she might as well have been.
Yeah. Looks like that gymnastic strength.
Yeah, freakish strength. Like she can squat 300 something pounds up and down. I'm not lying. I've seen her put 315 on her back and rep it like it's nothing. And then rack the weight and be like, I never squat. I'm like, man, shut up. Shut up.
It's not funny.
This ain't funny because I'm looking at my legs and a friend of mine told me I have smoker legs.
No,
I don't know what that means.
It's like what's the term? Like bigger, like a jailhouse body.
Yes,
like big upper body and then skinny legs.
Yeah. Which it hurts my feelings, man.
Sorry, I did not say that.
No, I didn't say you. I mean, you just cleared it up for me. But yeah,
just cleared it up.
But she's like, so she's super mobile. She's super strong. She's super fast, and I think it's unfair.
It's a little weird. We're talking about her and she's here.
I know.
That's kind of fun.
I know, but she don't. But yeah. Yeah, so I want to be more svelte. I want to be more,
Yeah, what do you do for, what's the program look like? Is it enhanced cardio? Is it enhanced density of nutrition?
Definitely nutrition. Yeah. And I just got on a new cardio program. I'm incorporating a lot of sprint drills, 400s, 300s. Once out of the week, I'll run a couple miles, but it's more like, speed work and jiu-jitsu. A lot of rolling.
Which is like steady state cardio pretty much, right?
Yeah.
And is that, what zone, if we're technical, are you in when you're rolling most of the time? We got tricky?
We got tricky right there. Hold on, let's talk about that. What do you mean?
So zone 5 is like heart rate is pounding. Like, I'm not sure I can keep going. I definitely can't talk and do what I'm doing. Like, it's on. Yeah. Max heart rate type stuff. Zone 1 is like, we're walking and talking, and you could barely notice that there's a heart rate. Zone 3. So in the middle.
Yeah.
Like you could talk, but it's like, it's kind of agitating.
Precisely.
Right? Yeah. Okay. So most of that zone 3 work.
Yeah. We did it's funny you're asking me this. A couple of days ago, we did 5 7-minute rounds, and we took a minute rest in between just to build up that constant state so we could operate at a high level but not be maxed out. And it was brutal.
And are you doing this is your fitness for, is it for performance or is it for lifestyle?
Performance.
So you're still
100%.
competing.
Yeah. I mean, I don't compete, but this is the weird thing. I don't compete, but I love to compete with the competitors.
I don't mean competing like for a medal, but competing with yourself and competing with people.
Yes.
Like in that way.
Yes.
Right.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. That ship sailed for me a long time ago.
I don't think it has.
Well, I showed up to the surf ranch, the Kelly Slater surf ranch, on invitation from a friend.
Yeah.
And it was the first time that I was surfing with a bunch of people, in recent time. And it had nothing to do with people watching, but it had everything to do with like, I can better that. I can better that.
Yeah.
I can better what I just did.
Yeah.
I felt myself sliding right like from the mountaintop of a Zen state to like this alpha competitive, like bring the bigger one. I want the bigger one.
Yeah.
And so it was a fun kind of jostling that took place for me.
You think that's a bad thing?
Say it again.
Do you think that's a bad thing?
No, I love it. I love range.
Yeah.
For me, the good life is range.
Yeah.
And not to be encumbered or constricted when I'm at the end points of range. Yeah. And so whether that's fear, whether that's intensity, whether that's kindness or love, whatever it might be, I want to be able to have great range and dimension.
You know, one last thing before we get into the questions, because I'm so glad you're asking me this. I'm not going to say who I heard say this, but I heard someone say recently, yesterday actually, they were saying, they're talking about manhood and how they come from an old school mentality where, you just get out there and you work and you take care of your family and you bust your ass. They don't have time for the whole, I was depressed today, or I was just going through some things, or I just feel like I have the weight of the world on my shoulders. And they were saying that's soft. And this is a successful person saying this. And they're like, well, I don't really understand that. I come from a whole different era where we just get it done. I got a family. I got stuff to get done. You know what I'm saying? Look at me, I'm successful. And I do understand that to a certain extent, but then it makes me harken back to the time, let's just say the 50s, 60s, 70s. Yeah, it's kind of like when people say, my parents were together for 30 years, 40 years. You guys don't know how to stay together now. But then I think back and I'm like, well, people kind of accepted and dealt with a lot of things that they didn't need to deal with. You know what I mean? Like women would be with men that would just do whatever they wanted to do, but they'd be like, I love your dad. Guys that would bust their ass and work really hard would die early, have heart attacks, have mental issues and things of that nature. Mm-hmm. So when you talk about that whole, pushing yourself for the alpha mentality, or like you say, you like to play with the spectrum.
Yeah.
And that's why I asked, is that a bad thing? Because sometimes, at least the way I grew up, I was told to go hard all the time. Now that I'm older, I'm realizing that going hard was just not the right way to go about it. Like you go hard some of the time, but you play with the range. Right?
Yeah. Actually, what you're describing is what I hear in the commentary is about like the traditional historical male position and posture in life.
Yeah.
And personally, I think it's antiquated. I think it's muted. So I think that's why you pulled on what I was saying, is that to only do a couple emotions, let me just stick with emotions first, to only be able to do a couple emotions well is a muted way to go through life.
Yeah. And
so like I can do anger really well. I can do frustration really well. By the way, they're on the same kind of scale, if you will. Mm-hmm. And I can do a little bit of happiness, but too much happiness, I got problems. I'm not taken seriously. I look like I'm soft. If I'm always smiling, yeah, you know where I'm going.
I know.
And then I definitely can't do stuff on the sad scale because that's really weak. Like, what do you mean you're sad? And boy, forget about anxiety.
Yeah.
Okay, so if there's 4 scales, just to use this performance model for a minute, I can do a little bit of happiness. I can do all of frustration or all of anger, but I'm muted in the other ones. I don't want that life. I want to do range for all of them. I want to know I can find myself in the deep sadness and find myself in just light sadness, that I can do the whole range. And I can go all the way to the top of the mountain with happiness and joy. And I'll pause there for a minute because I've found that when there's a bliss, love, joy emotion in me, it's so overwhelming that I'll want to pull out. And I bet if the listener identifies with this for just a moment, it's so overwhelming and we're so unpracticed with that fullness and the animation of that love and joy that we'll smile to give ourselves a buffer from the other person. We'll look away. We'll try to gather ourselves. And we're trying to damp it down so we don't lose ourself in the joy and happiness. So I want to range.
You described me to the T.
Yeah.
I feel when I get too happy, too overjoyed, that it's going to be snatched away. So I try. My excuse is I'm even keeled. My highs aren't too high. My lows aren't too lows.
Yeah, I appreciate that about you too.
You know,
I appreciate that. But so that undulation around the middle path is really cool, you know? And then, but if we can't go outside the range, it's still muted. And so I'm just talking about the intense moment or moments of joy. I want to be able to stay in those a little bit longer. And the intense sadness, I want to stay in that a little bit longer. There's so much rich information in those states. And if we're muted, we're gating out really important information.
Yeah.
So for me, there are little experiments that I run when I feel something is to, can I follow that just a little bit further? Can I maintain myself in it a little bit further? And then do I feel like I'm going to fall apart? Oh, I do. Okay. Can I stay here for just a moment? Oh, I can. I'm okay. And I just keep playing that experiment out. And if I can do it with people that are backing me, like my wife and friends, like they're like, oh, I see you. Okay. All right, Gervais. You know?
Yeah.
And they're opening the aperture for me to do that. Now I've got a partnership of people that are helping with range as well. So that one of the challenges, like when I go back to and hang out with my high school friends, we had no range.
Yeah.
So this is in the 80s, right? When I went to high school, we had no range. And so when I go hang out with them, we fall back into no range. Right? Like, and your laugh is funny because you know exactly what I'm talking about. Right?
I was just picturing you putting on some Van Halen with your buddies and like, yeah,
you went Van Halen.
You just fall back into no.
It wasn't Black Sabbath. It was Van Halen, wasn't it? Yeah. Okay, good. That's pretty funny. Yeah. And you definitely didn't go to Eazy-E, did you?
No, not at all.
You didn't?
Not at all. No, I was listening to jazz.
You were listening to jazz.
I was listening to jazz.
No, I was saying that you didn't look at me and say, oh, LA guy, must BC Boys are easy. And
no, 100% Van Halen. And listen, when I think 80s, I think Kevin, what's his name? Kevin Bacon dancing Denise Williams. Let's hear it for the boy.
Oh, you do.
Footloose.
Yeah.
I think Van Halen. I think, hey, thank you. Yeah. I think that's up. So when you said you go back, I just saw.
Well, that was early 80s. It was any music that would scare my parents. I know.
See, I don't get that from you.
It's weird.
I don't get that from you at all. I think soft rock, like some easy stuff.
You would not have recognized me when I was younger.
Were you thugging back then?
Not thugging. I was just a punk. I was just counterculture.
That's wild.
And anxious, which made me counterculture and angry.
Yeah.
You know, frustrated. Good kid.
Yeah.
Morally grounded, but just pushing as far as I could.
That's great. It's funny because knowing you as I know you now, I can't even imagine it.
Well, we all, you know, at some point you either stay that path or you fall pretty hard.
Yeah.
You know, and I left enough emotional skin on the asphalt that I said, no, I think I like a different way.
Yeah. So when you get back with your friends and you fall out of range, how does that process start? A joke or a laugh?
This is why people are so important.
Yeah.
And we know that environments. There's some research out of Harvard that the researcher took a bunch of, I think it was octogenarians, and then rewinded the clock in their setting and had them re-experience. So they had like 1920s music and 1920s couches and chairs and decoration. And they had them go back in time, if you will, for like a week or a couple of days. I can't remember the details of the study. And then they measured a bunch of outcomes, like they were moving better, they were feeling better, just being in an environment that was 20 years earlier. So they're 80 years old now, and they rewind the clock in the environment to when they were like in their 30s or whatever age that would be. And so the environment alone can shape us.
Yeah.
Our people in the environment can remind us and shape us.
Yeah.
And so the people that we partner with, I think one of the biggest decisions in life is our partner. I think it's foundationally one of the most important decisions we make. And many of us make it when we're, young, not informed enough. So for the young folks, I always say, you need to listen now. You need to really listen to your body now.
Yeah.
Listen to your gut, listen to your intuition. And if you're only drinking when you're with your partner, like you're not really listening, and pay attention to where you met your partner. Like who introduced you to your partner?
Yeah.
Play the trajectory out a little bit. So, anyways, I think it's one of the foundationally most important decisions that we make is who we partner with.
Okay. So I just want to apologize because I'm going to get to these questions now, but I just want to say this. I would like one day to just do an AMA with you and just talk to you. Because I get lost in conversation with you when I know I have these questions I have to ask. And I want to forgive the people who wrote these questions. I'm going to get to your questions right now. Okay, but Mike is so engaging, I get lost and I get selfish.
Yeah.
I do. All right, so.
Thank you.
Here's a question here. I'm an in-house M&A attorney at a progressive company with an overall great culture. The nature of my particular work is that it's cyclical with a deal flow. When we have big deals, everyone works around the clock, or at least is on call for work as it arises, nights, weekends, etc. This is true for our internal folk, our outside counsel, the accounting firms, and investment banks we work with. The on-call nature of it, especially in relentlessly busy stretches, is wearing me thin, especially having a 5-year-old daughter. My company is not an extraction culture, but this is what the work requires and what everyone does. I hear you saying it is important to prioritize well-being as a foundation of high performance, but can you explain how this can work in my culture? How do I set boundaries and prioritize my own health recovery when the culture around me doesn't? Thanks in advance.
Cool, multifaceted question, as expected from an M&A attorney. Okay, so I hear a couple things in the question. One is, I chose to be a attorney. I chose to be a mother. And that's an assumption I'm making. Okay. So I don't know if there was a force feeding to be an attorney or force feeding or pressure to be a mother, but I'm choosing to assume that this person is above average intelligence, that this person has high agency, that this person is code directing and designing their life. And so that's the framing. Of course, not knowing. I've got to make some assumptions. Okay. And I'm imagining this person's got like a lot going on, switched on, getting after it, and feeling some of the fatigue that comes with a highly electric work environment that is an always on. And then I need to frame it. When I listen to the question, I need to frame it. Okay, so this is agency, this is choice, this is an highly electric environment. What does that compare to? Well, maybe an ER doc. And so an ER doc is doing things that's actually probably more intense, life-saving, if you will, always on in many respects. And there's a family dynamic there. Like, how do they do it? So I'm looking for, in my mind, other models that I can map to reference points. So I'm just letting you know how I'm thinking about it.
Okay. And
then I need to, so that's my first go-to when I think about a question. My second is like, well, what's the emotional component? What's the emotional content inside of this? And I'm imagining this person is trying really hard and is tired, wants to have a great life and is tired, loves the culture. It sounds like it's not an extraction culture, but isn't properly balancing the need to stress high and recover intensely. So it isn't finding that right balance between stress and recover. And over time, that becomes pretty wearing. And I don't know if this person is like really calling for help or is just at the beginning of the slide of fatigue. Like, are they really far down the slide and they're like, look, it feels like I'm in quicksand? Or are they like, I need to just catch my breath. Like, this is just moving a little bit faster than I wanted to. So I don't know the intensity. But the emotion piece is, for me, is like, I don't get helpless in this question. I don't get that at all. I get, what can I do? That's why I'm mapping this sense of agency. So what can you do? One, remind yourself that you chose the path, right? And that you made many micro decisions that led you to where you are now, so that you can make many micro decisions and have whatever life that you do want. You co-designed or designed the life that you're living. I think it's a really important first principle to come back to, which is like, wait, hold on. I had a lot to do with how I'm doing.
Yeah.
Okay. Why did I study to be an attorney? Is it for parent approval? Is it because I love trying to sort out complicated deal structures? Oh, then when I go to work, I should be like loving. I should go back to what I love about what I chose early on. And if you have this honest experience with yourself, wait, I did it for mom and dad's approval, then that's why you're going to an environment maybe feeling a little fatigued now.
Yeah.
So work can be generative. JOB is not, but the labor in which you apply yourself to something that you find important and meaningful and generative and stimulating can actually not be the drain that most people feel. So go back to the source and then have an honest conversation. So this person, I say, go back to the source of why you chose to be an M&A attorney. And if it's like, and so now there's a decision tree. And if the honesty is, yeah, I did this for approval, I did this for money, I did this for status. Oh, well, what are you gonna do with that?
Yeah.
Is there a career change? Or is there something in it that you can fall in love with now that you're here? Now that you're at a successful firm, is there a love affair you can foster in your work environment for yourself? That sounded like a fling or affair. That's not what I was saying. I'm saying a love affair with your work. And at the same time, that is practice for the love affair with other people in your life. So what does that mean? She wants to be probably a great mom. Did you say it was a male or female?
Michelle.
Yeah.
Forgive me, Michelle. Female.
She likely wants to be a great mom. What the typical narrative is I grind and I come home and I'm tired and agitated and I don't have much to give. So if we can find ways to, inside the rhythm of business, to expend our energy in a highly electric way and recover in intelligent ways inside the 9 to 5, inside the 8 to 7, whatever the job structure is, to find a better balance of recovery there, we come home with the right energy or better energy than we once did to give to our kids. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So the first thing to do is like, be honest with yourself. And then when you look in the mirror there, you got some big choices to make. If you're going to stay the path of being an M&A and you did it for status, power, and approval, then you've got to re-engineer your relationship with being an attorney. If you really love the complicated nature, go back to the dream of when you're a kid and you really wanted to do this. Reinvigorate the dream. That opens up the aperture of how you move through your day, part one. Part two is to invest in best practices throughout the day to recover. Maybe it's a nap. You say, I can't do that. Yeah, you do. You can. You control your schedule. You can shut your door for 15 minutes. You can put on a meditative app. You could maybe do fill in the blank, lots of different things, stretching, shoulder unlocking, breathing, listening to good music for a few minutes, maybe bring an old record player in, like whatever, like something that is soothing for you during the rhythm of business. I would practice, if I'm feeling tired by the time I get home, my first mentor in private practice as a psychologist said, look, Mike, you pour everything into your clients. What I need you to do, I need you to start practicing after somebody leaves. This is when I was like 40 clients a week, like every hour for 40, it was a lot for me. Some people can do it better than I could. After every client, go to the bathroom, wash your hands, do a little breathing thing, a little prayer thing, let go, like really let go, so that when you come back, you've got a renewed sense. It's a little micro, a little thin slice of recovery. And so that's how I would think about it. And then the ultimate, okay, hold on. What we're really trying to do at Finding Mastery here is help people live a great life. That's it. a great life. We don't know how long we get. We don't know how long we have. We have more power to create the life than we want, than we express. So the first order of business is always to go within. And you can unlock the resources that you need. And part of that is choice, choosing to fall in love with the environments and the challenges that you have. And part of that is recovering intelligently. That's how the great athletes do it. Like Michael Jordan doesn't talk about going to work. He says, no, we're going to go play, and I'm going to play hard. And that framing is cool. You know, there's something really now he's known as being one of the hardest workers ever.
Yeah.
You know, but I say that because it's in the context of play and a love of what he was trying to do. I don't want to get complicated with Jordan in this, you know, because he's beautifully complicated in many ways. So, and then I'd be great on recovery strategies after I put the kids down. I would minimize screen time. I would minimize a bunch of other stuff so that I give myself a chance to fall asleep. And I would be incredibly disciplined with hydration and nutrition. I would eat as many colorful foods as I possibly can.
Yeah.
And I would make those choices to not have food coming from plastic. And I'd make sure I'm really well hydrated. Concretely, like, I don't know, 12 ounces of some water or form of water before I even leave the house.
Yeah.
You know, like I get on my hydration game, get on nutrition, and I could keep going, but those would be some basic ones.
I'm going to ask you a weird question, because everything that you said pertained to the individual, like Michelle making these concerted efforts to, you know, create this a better life for herself in a more comfortable situation. Do you think at any particular time, the company, the firm that you work for, do you think it would behoove them to create the environment for their employee, knowing that most employees come into the environment busting their asses, working 10 to 12 hours? But you said something that kind of jarred me when you were like, we don't know how long we get. And it kind of just slapped me into reality. Like, but putting that up on the wall, you don't know how long you get, take a break, stretch, listen to some music, like these affirmations, these reaffirming things to let people know that, hey, we want you to be the most productive person you can be, but we realize the workload can be stressful. So, you know, this is gonna sound really cheesy. we have.
Are you editing? You're editing as you go.
As I go, we have editing. We have on-call therapists for you to talk to. Yeah, I need you to get this this deadline done for me. But hey, you know what? We have therapists you can talk to for 15 minutes, you know, just to get some things off your chest. Do that, okay? Look at that sign. You see what that sign says? We don't know how long we get. Even though I want you to be the most productive worker you can be for me, I want you to live your life too. I want you to be happy. Mm. Hey, put on some music. Are more companies starting to do that so you won't have Michelle's asking questions like this or saying, how do I, you know?
That would be what I would consider a modern leader, is that they are creating an ideal or more optimized external environmental structure for people to be their best. And I'm pointing to not waiting or looking for somebody else to take action for you to work from the inside out. So it's always available to work from the inside out. And that's my reflective response is like, what can you do? Mm-hmm. Even if you're in a rugged environment or like environment that is not caring. What can you do to take care? And so you just described what I would call the modern leader. And imagine if you've got your firm, whatever the business is, that you would operate from two things probably, I think. And this is what we're doing at Finding Mastery, and that's probably why it's an easy conversations for us. But tell me if I'm wrong, is impermanence and interconnectedness. So we're all connected in this thing. That's a grand idea. That was one of Buddha's big ideas. And impermanence. Every moment is fleeting. Like this moment is the only moment we have, so be in it. And so like that idea of impermanence and interconnectedness are two principles that, I don't know, they've stood up for about 2,600 years, you know, like, and every world religion and many of the great philosophers have wrestled with the meaning and purpose of life. And so if you have phraseology that ladders up to a first principle, like impermanence, we don't know how long we're going to get. We don't know how long you're going to be. you don't know how long you're going to be here. I don't know how long I'm going to be here. So bring everything you've got. That's why recovery is so important, so you can live with zest and fire.
Yeah.
And I'm just looking to how elite athletes do it. Elite sport teams double down on recovery because they know that they're not going to have this for very long. And the specialness that they have inside of them, the fundamental commitment is to release it, to untap it. And so you got to work really hard to do that and recover really hard.
Yeah. That's a great example.
Was that satisfying?
It's satisfying. I'm satisfied.
I felt very like monotone in my entire, you know?
No. I'm satisfied, especially with the comparison with the elite athletes, because that's true. You can learn a lot from them because it's a short window of opportunity they have to showcase their skills. So you got to take care of yourself. And if you think about that in life,
that's right.
Well, yeah, I've never made that comparison. So
yeah, there's a shot clock in life, but we pretend like it's not there.
Man, you're not lying about that.
Yeah.
All right, this next message is from Jeremy. Jeremy Scanlon. I love that last name. Mike has previously said on 1 or 2 episodes something like, the world didn't need 21-year-old Mike. I remember you saying that. Meaning I think Mike maybe once had traits or practices that didn't serve him or affected his personal or professional relationships. Yet today, the world desperately needs Mike Gervais of 2024, who has become someone dedicating his life to help others become the best. We need 1,000 Dr. Mikes. I'd love to hear what happened in between, some perspective from Dr. Mike on how he bridged the gap between the person he once was and the one he wanted to become, or has become, and is becoming. Appreciate you, O'Neil. I appreciate you too, Jeremy. I love these episodes.
Cool. Thank you. That was very kind. World does not need 1,000 me's. It needs 1,000 more people being themselves. And so I'll just frame it quickly, is that I didn't know it at the time, but I was anxious. This is like 2020 hindsight is, so much clearer, is that I was really anxious as a kid. And I didn't know how to deal with that anxiety. So I was just quick to intolerance. And so I was trigger angry. And so I was unsettled. And then to deal with that anxiety, and it would express in frustration, and it was an exacting standard that I would imply on myself and other people. That's lame. That's really lame. So if you think about that, an anxious kid, very competitive, didn't want to show anxiety, didn't want to show the frustration either. So I had to bottle it all up, and I didn't really know how to do it. And so when it would come out, people would be like, whoa. And people around me would feel the way I felt inside, which was judgmental and critical and harsh to myself. Here's the upside, the plus side of that, is it helped me get good at things. The downside is I never really felt good. So I would give what I had. That's all I could give. So I couldn't give happiness and generativity and kindness and hope. I didn't have it. I wasn't depressed. I wasn't hopeless, but the bigger emotions were anxiousness, worry, intolerance, frustration, critique, and judgment. That's where my statement comes from. I didn't need more of that. We don't need more of that. We've got lots of that. And I still have to work with that. I'm fundamentally different in some ways. And I like to think that I kept my values in place. It's something I rest on. And so the world needs more people to be off axis. I think about the founder of Patagonia says, if you want to understand entrepreneurship, examine juvenile delinquents. I go, yep. The ones that were pushing against the grain. And I love the counterculture. Mick Fanning, 3-time world champion in surfing, says, and I think he said it on the podcast, he says, when the world's zigging, I want to zag. When when the lineup is moving towards a wave and like out in the lineup and there's 50 people paddling towards a wave, he goes, I just sit still. Let them clear out. I'm going to wait for something to come on this side of the point. So that courage to feel something, to know something, or to say, I just feel like pushing against the grain. I love it. And so the reason I changed was because I had enough internal scratchy agitation that I said, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. And that's a playbook from addiction. I'm just sick and tired of being sick and tired. And so Lisa, my wife, held up the mirror for me and was like, yeah, is this who you really want to be? I'm not down with it. We're already married. She's like, I'm not down with that. And so, like trying to change your operating system, that's a hard thing to do. That's a very hard thing to do, to reprogram, to reconstitute your psychology is possible. It is totally possible. And so, anyways, I hope that I can stand for hope. I hope that I can stand for do the work. And I'm still doing the work. And if there is any difference I'm making in someone's life, it would be like, you can do the work too. You can do the work. And so I know you understand that from an athlete perspective, from a humanist who is working on yourself every day. I know you can understand that. I think the listener can as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm rooting for people, like really rooting for people. I'm rooting for myself too. Like I'm trying my best, like we're all just trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
My path is almost immaterial to every other person on the planet. My path is an N of one. And the way that I've contoured, my choices is immaterial to others. Like we can't compare. We can maybe use it for inspiration.
Yeah.
Meaning that like, oh, that seems like I could kind of relate to that. But I remember I was mentoring, this was when I was right out of, it was a job, and I was mentoring a group of high school kids. And I responded to something that was really intense in my authentic best way. And one of the high school kids, and I was probably 28, and there was two kids in particular, they were both really switched on. I mean, incredibly switched on high school kids. And one of them was like, that was awesome. And the other ones said out loud to me and to the other kid, and they were best buds, said, that's not the mentor I want to be part of. That doesn't resonate at all with me. And I was like, good for you. Right? Like that sit with me. In one way, it's like it was a bite. Mm. Like, oh. And another way, it was like, good for you. Because the way I chose to act didn't relate to him. If you love the way it feels to be around R&B music, that's the vibe you're looking for. Death rock is not going to be your path. Yeah. So find inspiration inside of the relationships that provide hope for growth. Yeah. So anyways, that's a long way to answer.
No, man, I love that. Yeah. I love that. I love that. I mean, as far as you won't feel like the world needs 1,000 more Dr. Mikes, I love that response. That was great. Question. Do you think, like when you said you were mentoring these two high school kids and one responded positively and the other one was like, oh, that's not really my thing. How do you get over, like, I'm going to use the R&B example. I love R&B. Every now and then, some death metal will pop up and I'll be like, that's kind of dope, but that's rare, right? It's rare. Mm-hmm. So when I hear death metal, I'm like, why the fuck does that even exist? Everybody on the earth should be listening to R&B. What are you thinking?
And
right?
anime.
And watching anime. What are you doing? If you're not watching anime and listening to R&B, why are you even...
Listen, I do not understand anime, okay?
Right.
Like, I'm glad we're talking about this as I introduced it. I was watching something on your social with you and Kaisa on anime. I was like, I really...
Like, what the fuck is going on with
I
O'Neil?
do not understand.
Like, just be honest.
Were you really excited watching that anime show, or were you like putting it on just to?
No. Let me explain something to you.
Okay,
let's get this straight right now.
Seriously,
that shit moves me. My brother I know what you're talking about. You're talking about Naruto, so let's talk about it.
No, I don't even know what you just said.
Don't worry about it.
What'd you say?
Naruto?
Naruto.
Yeah, you got to roll the R.
Oh,
but we'll talk
okay.
about that later. We'll do that later. Not only one of the biggest animes ever, it moved me. It spoke to me. My brother put me on it maybe 17 years ago. And one summer, he and I sat and we watched it. Man, there's been times when I've watched episodes of the show and I cried. Like, it moved me. Now, I'm a grown-ass man, so now I understand why.
What does the ass do in that statement?
What the grown-ass man?
Yeah.
Oh, it just makes me more, posturing. I'm grown-ass man. Damn, why you gotta ask me that? Yeah, you gotta stick ass in it. I'm a whole grown-ass man.
I mean, if you take it out like, I'm a grown man.
Yeah. Grown ass just feels more powerful.
I understand.
Come on, say it. Want to say it? Try it.
Yeah, I'm a grown ass man.
See, boom.
Did you like that?
Yeah, your eyes. Well, yeah,
I came from a place.
It came from a place.
Oh, okay, good. Thank you.
But I think my love for it is because it's fictional and life isn't fictional. And in fiction, it allows us to see what we can be, the best of us, right? Because in the real world, things aren't going to always work out perfectly. The good guy doesn't always win, right?
Who are you in Star Wars?
I mean, damn, that's... I gotta say, I'm a Skywalker. I guess. I'm a fucking Jedi. Corny as hell. I'm a Jedi. If anybody see me on the street, don't run up on me talking to me about this. He asked me this.
You went Luke? You went Luke?
Yeah, I'm somewhere in the Jedi. Yeah, because I want butterflies to land on my finger.
You do?
Yeah. I want to be one with the universe. You know?
You think your crew wants you to be like Dark Sith? Or you're supposed to be on the dark side?
Well, I mean, now we've discovered they're gray Jedis, or gray people, that are in the middle. They're not light or dark. They have a little bit of both.
Oh, I don't know this.
Yeah.
Is that
so
right?
You got to read the books, yeah.
I think you introduced that, and I forgot it. Yeah.
So I would say I'm more like that. Like,
Luke was not gray, was he?
No, he was completely Jedi, completely, just.
So you identify with the quote unquote good force.
Yeah, like Ahsoka. She's like that, right? She's in the middle,
I love that show. That was fun.
I love that show. It was great.
Yeah,
so anime allows me to see that. It allows me to see what we can be. It's corny, it's cheesy. You can just go into that world and forget about the real thing.
I love this answer. I love where you're taking this. Like it's a way for you to see hope and potential and vision and what could be for you and for others.
Yeah.
That is really cool.
Well, here's the question I have though, that I want to ask you.
Yeah.
Just like music, right? When you listen to R&B music and you listen to them talking about love and commitment, and they say the sweetest things about being with this person, and they write it in such a beautifully poetic way. and then you hear about the person who wrote it or sung it, and they like, oh, yeah, beat up their wife or they're a drug addict. And I'm like, how can all these amazing things come from people? How can we aspire to love a person like this or to be this good, but in the real world, we do some wild things.
I don't know. I mean, humans are the most complex ecosystems there are. Like, I don't know. And I remember one of my supervisors said, Mike, you seem really positive. And I was like, oh, thank you. And she says, before you see any more clients, I want to understand your shadow side. So what do you mean? She goes, well, no one's all light. And if you're presenting only with all light, I'm never going to believe you. And I think you're going to hurt people. Oh. So what do you mean? She says, I want to know your dark side. I want to know the other side of you. Like, what do you mean? I want to know the parts of you that you're hiding. I want to know the parts of you that you feel shameful about. Because that's in there. And if you over-rotate on being positive and hopeful, and you're actually working from a place of fear and self-doubt, you're giving something fake. Like, can you really sit with the complexity of yourself across from the complexity of another human? I was like, yeah. So I didn't answer the question. Yeah. I just looked at her and I was like, I don't know where to go. And she says, I want to know that. I was like, that's cool. And so, I came back around another time. I didn't want to give her something fake.
Yeah.
And so that work is awesome. That's when like doing that shadow work or that, facing your dragon, as I like to talk about it, that other part of you, like it's really freeing. And so you don't have to rotate in a fake way. And so when I hear you talk about like the hope that anime gives you and like the vision and the complexity of the human experience, whether it's in music where we're talking about love, but we know the other side, the dark side. Man, what a complicated ecosystem.
Super complicated.
It's so complicated. And the ones that say, I got this, or they present like they got this.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good case to zig when they're saying, you should zag, forget about it. But again, I'll go back to this idea that your life is uniquely yours. And I'm rooting for you. My life, the choices I've made are unique to my neurochemistry, my genetic coding, the neighborhood I grew up on, it's totally unique. So anyways, I'm rooting for you, whoever it is. And for you, I'm still more curious about anime, but I like the framing. I appreciate the framing of it.
No. Escapism to some degree.
Escapism.
Yeah.
Oh. Do you escaping reality? Just be quiet for a minute. Just let you deal with that.
O'Neil's a different guy. Yeah? Okay, if you say so, O'Neil. If you say so.
What are you escaping?
I mean, the melancholy, drab reality of the real world. If you look on the news and you see all the things that are happening, and if you take so much of it in, see. I absorb all of that. Like I like watching every single.
Oh, you're like a sponge?
Thing. Yeah, and I absorb it. I want to feel it. I want to understand it. I sympathize with it. I'm empathetic. But I'm finding the older I'm getting, it's too much. I'm taking too much of it on.
One of the most polarizing coaches, Bobby Knight, basketball coach.
Yeah.
One of his frameworks was, you're either a sponge or a sieve. Super interesting idea. And so the idea, the framing was like, are you going to hold on to it or let it run through you?
Yeah.
Let it pass through you. And are you an empath, like an empathic person that you feel it and you hold on to it and then like it's almost overwhelming?
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
I personally... My wife is that way. And so I'm up close to it, but it doesn't, either I'm muted there.
Yeah.
Or I can see your stuff, but it doesn't become mine.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if that's like my wife, when she's having a moment, she's like, you're like an armadillo.
Yeah.
It just, I don't like that framing. I want to be a panda.
Yeah.
We've talked about this.
Yes, we have.
But my lower version, I'm an armadillo, where it's just like not coming in.
Yeah.
And that can feel really cold, but I respect the empath. I really respect what you're saying. And so I wonder if when you hear the sieve or the sponge, what you think of that?
Yeah. Okay. Well, number one, I'm definitely not that. I don't filter anything out. I take it all in. Here's the thing I'm learning with myself, though. This is going to sound really fucked up. Get ready for this.
You're in good hands.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Joking.
Appreciate it.
This is marginal. This is very suspect. What's coming from me has been unverified and untested. Yeah.
I'm an empath. I absorb all of it, and I see people's pain, and I see people do wrong, and I don't like it. I don't like it so much so that I would employ what the bad people do to reprimand the bad people.
Oh,
and
so Luke puts on like a false flag.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Wait, that's a weird metaphor, but like Luke puts on the Sith kind of whatever to go fix it.
And then justify it. Like, I killed all the bad people. What's wrong? And then it's that old saying that, you live long enough to see yourself become the bad guy, but you justify it.
Never heard that. Wait, what is that?
What's that whole saying that you live long enough to see yourself become the bad guy? They used it in the Batman movie with Christian Bale.
I don't think that's well written.
No, you don't think.
Did I just piss you off?
No, not really. I love Christopher Nolan and his brother. I think they did an amazing job.
Yeah.
The one with Heath Ledger?
Oh, that was good.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like that type of thing that, you know, I hate wrong so much that I would almost do wrong against wrong.
Complicated.
And then you become that thing.
Super complex.
So
right?
it makes me think about dictators and people in the world that become bad people. I'm sure at some point they really believed and thought that what they were doing was for the greater good.
That's an interesting pivot because maybe, but I think that you're a healthy human trying to understand an unhealthy human. So dictators, for the most part, are the dark triad.
Yeah.
So cult leaders maybe different. I don't know. I don't want to extend that thought because I don't know. But the dark triad, Machiavellian, narcissist, and sociopathology, those three, when they're together, are like the most dangerous people in the world. They're looking for power. It's all about them. They'll do whatever it takes, sociopathology. They don't feel pain themselves. That's why they don't understand, like, look, just cut off his arm. Because they don't feel pain.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that big a deal. It's only an arm. Don't cut off mine, though. I want mine. How dare you think that you could cut off mine?
Yeah.
You know, so, and then the Machiavellian is they're shrouding it, their message and their approach in a cloak that you can't quite see through. And so they're very slippery, smart, dangerous people. And they tend to, at all costs, think that they deserve power. And they'll desperately do whatever it takes to be in power. And so I think that it's kind of like trying to think like an addict. If you're not an addict, it's very hard to understand how they could steal from mom.
Yeah.
Right. So it's very hard. It's a weird gymnastics internally to do to try to put yourself inside the experience of another person. That's very hard to do. So I actually think that your approach still sounds like the White Knight, but you've kind of put on maybe a Robin Hood type thing. You've put on a different cape to go after it, which is pretty complex. I'm not so sure that means justify the end, but for some people it could. Yeah. When it comes to taking life, are you more interested in utilitarian approach or a do no harm approach? So killing one that could save 1 million, 1,000, killing one that could save 12 versus no, we do no harm.
Utilitarian.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it's I think something complicated to wrestle with. Yeah. Philosophers have wrestled with this for a long time.
Okay, this question is from Jason. If you could give someone a single piece of advice that will make their life better, what would it be?
Okay, Jason. The idea of asking another person for advice, I find to be troubling. Jason, I don't know you. I don't know your unique life experiences. There are better people than me to be able to answer that because it's out of context. Whatever I'm going to say is out of context. So I'm going to pause for a minute, and then I'd love to hear how you respond to this.
Man, I have a really reckless response, probably.
Reckless?
Maybe because I'm trying to edit for the world.
No, don't like, okay. No, do your thing.
All right, fuck every single, Jason, fuck everybody. Fuck everybody. Do what you want to do. It's your life. You get to live it. Don't ask for permission. As long as you don't hurt anybody, do what comes to your mind. Bottom line. Be what you want to be. Listen to your heart. Listen to what's in your head. Don't question it. If it's there for a reason. If it's a mistake, you'll learn from that mistake. I mean, that's an operating system for you. Yes. Where did that come from? From the times that I did ask for permission, the times that I did seek advice, and things didn't work out for me. That I should have just followed my own heart and just, there's been millions of times where I felt a certain way, but because I saw my mom or my dad ask for advice, or my friends ask for advice, or on a television show, they're asking their friend for advice. I'm like, I guess what you're supposed to do, ask for advice. And I did it, and it didn't work out the way I wanted it to work out. And I was like, I would have rather roll the dice on my own. There you go. Yeah. That's interesting. So yeah. I see why you said it was reckless. You told me to be honest.
I did. Yeah,
I'm not robbing no banks with you.
Oh, that's so funny.
Oh God.
Robbing banks. I just got the joke. That's really funny. Yeah, that is really good. Nah, like the energy behind that's palpable. I can feel it. Yeah. Very cool, man. I love doing these with you.
I love doing.
Thanks for creating the space. This is awesome.
Thanks for being you, man. You know, I have an idea. What about you having a 1-800 number and on Sunday?
No, hold on. How about you have a 1-800, right?
And on Sundays, we just ask you questions. We just call you all day.
That is so funny.
Oh,
yeah.
man.
I appreciate you.
Appreciate you too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Come on.